Wouldn't it be amazing if there was like a summer camp except for adults?
How whimsical are we talking?
Oh, all of the whimsy.
You're looking for Hot Alien Summer Camp 2024. It's their third annual event at Starstruck Farms in Lebanon, Tennessee. You just come with an open heart to embrace a magical weekend. There's live entertainment, energy healing, art, and all kinds of workshops.
And I heard Karen Rontowski and Ryan Singer are returning once again to grace the stage with some cosmic comedy. Also, look forward to live music and the Makers Market, where you'll find handmade, consciously created art to pique all of your whimsical curiosities.
Visit the website at hotaliensummercamp.com, where pre-sale tickets are live now. There's lots to discover on the website, including past events, an email newsletter, and a lively Discord community.
And don't forget to check out the Alien Auction, where goodies and readings will be up for bidding. The auction starts March 24th and culminates with an all-day live stream event on March 31st. So I'll be seeing you August 8th through 11th at Hot Alien Summer Camp. Namaste!
Stay tuned after the episode for more information. Greetings and welcome back to Interviewing Aliens, the podcast that brings you closer to the extraordinary minds and talents within the Awakening Orientation Department and Hot Alien Summer Camp communities. I'm your host, Jeff, joined by my wonderful co-host, Tiffany, and today we have the pleasure of hosting a truly multidimensional artist, Sean Kelly, aka Seanti Aeris. Sean is not only the talented musician who produced our intro song, Fire Show, but also a visionary producer, songwriter, and podcast host. He's the spirit behind Resounding Source, a unique audio production studio that goes beyond traditional music production. Sean believes in breaking through the mundane to rediscover our innate state of divine peace through sound, naming his studio Resounding Source to better capture the essence of his work, recycling the source of all creativity through music. With a commitment to inspiring and redirecting attention to the internal landscape, Sean embodies the essence of what it means to be in the moment, both in life and through his music. His approach is all about harnessing multiple strengths and skills to share sounds that uplift and transform. On top of his musical endeavors, Sean hosts the podcast Reminders for Living Lucid, where he explores the themes related to sound, spirituality, and the interconnectedness of all things. His work invites listeners to tune into their peaceful birthright and embrace the transformative power of sound. Today, we'll dive into Sean's unique approach to music and podcasting, how his spiritual insights influence his life and work, and how he integrates those elements into his broader mission.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. Glad to chat with you guys.
We're so excited to have you today. When you reached out to us to offer up your music for our intro, I was so excited, and the track was just perfect. It's got like the right vibe. I love the way that the clip that we used for our like Instagram ads just it just feels kind of urgent and like it makes you want to listen to it. It's great. Yeah, I love your stuff, man.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a perfect fit too, if I do say so myself. It's very different from most of the music that I make, so I think I kind of subconsciously made it specifically for the show.
That's great. That's great.
Of course. And we hope to hear some of your music at Hot Alien Summer Camp 2024.
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah. It's been so cool, like meeting up with you guys the last 2 years. It's been just 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And sharing some music and meeting some fellow aliens. It's been awesome.
Yeah. Like
super appreciate it.
I was telling the boys before we started recording that like how it always has worked out with you is like probably one of my favorite things about camp, because it's always like just a couple days before you're like, hey, I was thinking about coming, and you're like, get your ass over here, get over
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
Like
hopefully it will be maybe not so last minute this time. But yes, you're right. It's been like
always have
2 days before. I'm like, I'm still on the fence. I don't know.
Yeah,
But yeah,
maybe
there's no reason to be
have
on
a
the
ticket
fence.
for
It's,
you for sure. And
thank
like
you.
last year, it was like, I can only come 2 days. I'm like, get over here. We'll figure it out. Like, it's great. And you bring incredible vibes as always. And you brought a bandmate last year that made me sob big, fat, cry, happy, sad tears
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
sang the song about Hot Alien Summer Camp. Like, it's been such a pleasure getting to know you and be in your energy at camp. It's been great.
Absolutely. Yeah, likewise. Yeah, and Marielle definitely has that effect on people. She has a
Yeah.
very special gift of being able to yeah, really just tap into the moment, and like it's really a exercise of channeling for her, if I would guess. Yeah, just speaking to the moment and exactly what people need to hear in certain
Yeah.
songs. So yeah, that song was completely improvised.
I would love to hear that recorded or see that what
Yeah, I
she
was just about to
really.
say, yeah, it'd be fun if we kind of put together a more official recording of,
Yeah.
well, not just put together, but like revive it, because I took a video of it. I'd have to like actually put it together as a song, because that was just a one and done. She's never done it since, never did it before.
Wild. Wild.
So yeah, that was fun. But yeah, Alien Summer Camp, such a good time. Yeah, I would love to be back and not take till the last minute to get it on the calendar and everything like that. So yeah.
How did you find yourself at summer camp? How did you find yourself at Starstruck Farm in 2022?
In 2022, I think it was Stefania reached out to me to really kind of nudge me to go, because it was on my radar. I've been following Jessa Reed since shoot, I don't know, maybe like 2018 or something like that. I first found out about her through Noah Lampert's podcast, Synchronicity. And she was on an episode kind of talking about like 5D, 6D stuff, talking about a mushroom trip or something like that. And to be quite honest, it didn't really vibe with me super hard at first. And I can't even remember how she came back on my radar. And I just like really resonated and started following her podcast, soberish at the time. And yeah, so it was on my radar that you guys were putting on the event, but I mean, I'm kind of an introverted dude. Like, I don't usually go out of my way to do those types of meetups and whatnot. So it was definitely a soulful nudge from Stefania and from you guys, and got me out there. And it's one of the first times that I've gone to a festival type of event just by myself, just rolling in solo. And, thankfully, like you mentioned, last year I was only there for like a day and a half or something like that. And thankfully I'm pretty close. Like, it's like a 4-hour drive from here. So nothing too crazy. I know some people are flying in from across the country, or don't you have someone coming in from the UK?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's far reaching. So thankfully it's kind of in my backyard. But anyway, yeah, it was such a lovely experience that first year, just being able to get out of my comfort zone and do something that I wouldn't normally do. Like, I have a way of attracting soul tribe to me, but without having to go out of my way for it. What I mean to say is I've never really like practiced making friends out of strangers until summer camp a couple years ago. And it was just like, it helps to have a common thread that we were all there for a similar reason and had like a similar interest and stuff like that. But yeah, I was pretty proud of myself for just bopping around and feeling pretty comfortable to just strike up conversation with people. And yeah, met a lot of awesome people and beautiful connections, awesome conversations. It was a beautiful flow.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I feel like that's a pretty common feedback we get from people that go, that they just feel comfy and able to get out of their shell and be their authentic selves, and you're just able to make like fun like connections in that way, and
Absolutely.
people like want to keep in touch with, it's really fun.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's the type of connections that we're lucky to come across in day-to-day existence, but like when you can really tap into that larger network. And be able to follow what people are up to and tap into, I love listening to this podcast. I love that you guys have this idea to do that. It's such a good component and supplement to the festival. And just super, I'll just take a moment to praise you guys, like super appreciate the effort and idea, vision, all of it that's gone into coordinating the two festivals and the upcoming one. And yeah, I mean, you're making ripples, and that's truly appreciated and truly resonating out.
I really appreciate that, man.
Yeah, thank you guys for that. Yeah.
I love that we've all kind of joined each other's communities, throughout. Like, you see each other in all these different discords and in your Discord, which is so fun. I love the idea of your little space.
Yeah, funny you mentioned that. That was actually something that Marielle and I were sort of brainstorming on the drive back from Tennessee last year from the festival, because I had the idea of putting together a Discord, but we were just sort of hashing out like a lot of stuff. It's a pretty big conversation. I'll try to give you the short of it. But we've been a part of this circle of musicians. We've been calling it a music collective, and we've been calling it Language of Light for the last few years. We've only done a few official things as the Language of Light. In short, it sort of started as like a super group. It was like 9 musicians, so each of us would bring in like a couple songs, and then we would all support each other and like rotate instruments and whatever. We had a big performance at the Kentucky Yoga Festival 2021, and that's actually where I met my buddy Ryan, who is now my really official bandmate. We've been playing together since then. He plays drums and creates hand snares that he attaches to djembes. He's got a whole hand drum kit. Really, really cool stuff. So if anyone listening is into drum circles and has a djembe, definitely check out legendaryhanddrums.com. He's got a lot of really beautiful, beautiful drums that he's been crafting over the years. Anyway, so Language of Light has just sort of been like a friend group, and also like we've got a lot of potential. Like we could, do something with this. So we were sort of brainstorming on the way back from the trip, talking about like it being sort of a production event company, and with the idea of like we're a living festival. Like we'll bring the vibes of a festival to whatever the venue may be, whether it be like a farmer's market or a bar or something like that, or whatever the venue, a house show. Just like, all right, we got artists in our collective. We've got plenty of musicians. We've got the people doing flow arts, poi and whatever else. So it was a little bit of a high idea. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's a great idea, but we haven't put too much legwork into like really making it solid yet. But definitely one of the many things on the list to attend to. But yeah, so that Discord's sort of a digital representation of that idea of like, main stage being like real life events that we're putting together, side stage being like digital shares, things that we can share online. Those are the two like main categories we have on the Discord. But yeah, lots of ideas. So just trying to ground in.
We mentioned earlier being a fan of our podcast, but we are big fans of your podcast. Like it's great. It's so much fun. The insights are fantastic. Why don't you talk a little bit about that and tell our audience more about what you're doing out there?
Oh, cool. Yeah, thank you. I have a podcast called Reminders Podcast. Full title: Reminders for Living Lucid. I did a podcast with a buddy a couple years ago called Breakthrough Consciousness. And I had never really considered getting into podcasting until that friend approached me. And I was just like, we have great conversations. Let's get the internet in on this. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
And it was fun. It was just a fun practice every couple weeks or however often we would get together and just have like intentional time to have intentional conversations. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then that sort of fizzled, and I was brainstorming ways of continuing it. So yeah, for the past year or so, I can't even remember when I started Reminders, but it's just me as the host. But I'm trying to bring on guests like pretty much every episode. I've done a couple solo casts, but it's just more fun to talk to other people. I'm not.
Agreed.
There's if I really am sitting on an insight that I want to share, I might do a solo cast. And I did start a series for a little bit where I was like kind of using TikToks as prompts for just
Oh, I love
going
that.
off on whatever. So
Yeah.
I'd pick like 5 TikTok videos that I thought were resonant and just sort of like,
TikTok divination.
yeah, exactly. And just kind of, riff off those. But yeah, it's been a little bit of a hiatus for the podcast. I haven't put anything out in a month or two, but spring's a springing,
Yeah.
and getting more time to do it. So I've got a couple lined up for the next couple weeks and ready to bounce back into it. But it's not one of those things where it's like I feel like it's too self-serious where I need to keep up with a weekly thing, even though consistency is nice. But I'd rather prioritize quality over quantity at this point.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's about lucid living, and I think one of the first times I spoke to you or interacted with you, you were sharing your gift of dream interpretation, on
Mm-hmm.
the old AOD podcast way back in the day, and your insight on dreams is like fascinating, and I am this is like a special interest of mine is dreams because I have like this insane history of like very apocalyptic kind of experiences with dreams.
Oh yeah.
So I would love to talk more about your experience in dream interpretation because it's fascinating to me.
Cool. Yeah. I would love to get into that. And now that you mention that, I remember you mentioning something about apocalyptic dreams
Yep.
and such.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess it was probably late 2020, maybe early 2021. I joined this online group that was all about trying to consciously learn how to lucid dream. So, anyone not familiar with the language, this is essentially just being in a dream and knowing that you're dreaming. It happens spontaneously, but there's ways of practicing just familiarity with that energy. One of the main things is doing like reality checks or lucidity checks throughout the day. Like a real classic one is just looking at your hand, flipping it over, flipping it back over. Like, does it still look like your hand? Okay, you might not be dreaming. If it turns into a chicken feather or something, what I mean. If you start seeing fractals blooming out of it, like you might be dreaming, type of thing. And there's other common ones like flipping a light switch or whatever. For me, I was just talking about this over the weekend. For me, the color yellow is a big reminder, just because that's something that's a little bit more all pervasive. You don't have to think to yourself, oh, let me do a reality check. It's just like I'm gonna see the color yellow going about my day, So that's just like a little bit of a reminder to check in, and it's kind of just a mindfulness check in too. Like just come back to the breath and come back to like feeling your body and like checking in with yourself. Like, am I in a trance right now? Like, is reality different than I'm used to it? I'm actually in a dream, but I've just gotten into this trance. And, I take it to like the level of life on earth too. Like I am very much a non-duality type of dude when it comes to spiritual perspective. And within that, I kind of vibe with the idea that we are living in a certain sense of a dream. Like I guess the Jessa Reed take on it would be like life being a video game, right? So different words, same idea.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, through that group, I got privy to this type of dream interpretation called dream interviewing, and yeah, I could give you a breakdown real quick, or if either of you have like a short dream you want to share, I could kind of do an example.
Yeah, we could do a dream.
You want
Okay.
to?
Yeah,
This
pick
is all
one.
you.
This is I pick one. These dreams are nuts.
I was gonna say I will preface it that it can be a pretty lengthy process. So if you have one that's like just a scene or something like pretty brief, like just a few symbols, just to give like a sample, that'd probably be more the move. Otherwise, this could easily be an hour or two of a session.
Okay, so it's a recurring dream.
Okay.
And there's something chasing me all the time, and it will in every dream it will kill me. It doesn't matter if I've been stabbed, shot, blown up, set on fire, drowned, any way you can possibly think of. But I've tried to like face it, like like I'm usually pretty lucid as soon as like there's like similar themes. And I'm usually lucid, and I go, okay, this time I'm gonna face it, and I'll like be like, listen, dead, gone, like before I can even see it. Or I've tried to run from it, I've tried to hide from it, I've tried to like use armies against it, I've tried everything I can to like talk to this thing or stop it from killing me, but it never wastes a second. Once it gets to me, I'm done.
Okay. Do you ever get a sense of what the thing is? Do you ever get a glimpse of it?
I've never been able to see it.
Okay.
It is like extremely powerful and big and can transform and be whatever, but it is ruthless in its attempt to just get to me and end me.
Okay. Well, this is a little bit more of a vague, so you're kind of you're sort of like summarizing a bunch of dreams into one recurring thing, but I can still sort of give a brief snapshot of what the dream interview looks like. So essentially what the process is you identify the key symbols. Um, so let me ask you: has there ever been one that had a really memorable location? Like, where
Yeah.
did you? Yeah.
Yes, it's I've been to this house, this like house in the woods, several times in several of these dreams, and um, it's
And
like
it's
a
not a house that you would recognize from life.
no, not from life. It's like
Okay.
out in the woods. It's a wooden house. There's no electricity. It seems like very old timey, and it's always like real foggy and misty. But yeah, that's the house. It's
Gotcha.
big.
Gotcha. Okay, so like a big kind of cabin in the
Yeah.
woods
Yep.
type of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, so let me just give a kind of overview before we get into the details. So essentially, identifying the key symbols. So usually location would be one of them. Any main characters, if there was someone, so you have a character of this entity chasing you, but we can't really identify it more than that. It's a big question mark. And then just obvious key symbols. I mean, depending on how deep of a process you want to do, you could decode every single symbol in the dream, but that's not always super necessary. And then the process is essentially just decoding the symbols by, if you're doing this interview with a facilitator, they'll ask you just key questions to figure out what your personal subconscious association is with this thing. So a lot of times in dream circles, dream uh, interpretation, you'll kind of come across this idea of like, oh, this symbol always means that, or like, you guys maybe have heard like your teeth falls out. That's like issues with control, or you feel like you're losing your sense of power, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That may be true. There may be more universal symbology and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we're all operating with our own relationship to vocabulary, even. Like even in life, we use these same words, but I have a slightly different, definition of words than you guys might, right?
Right.
So similar with the dream stuff, it's like our personal psyche chose to use that symbol, and it's essentially this process of digging into why that symbol and what does that mean. So let's just use the basic one that you have, chasing happening. So that would be a key symbol. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you some questions. Like I am an alien that knows nothing about Earth. Define what chasing is. Just literally define that word, chasing.
It is when one thing is following another thing with intent.
Okay. Anything to add to that?
Because it wants to do something.
Okay.
You're
Okay.
breaking an intent.
Okay, so our definition of chasing is following another thing with intent, because it wants something. When I say that back to you, does that jog anything? And this is kind of a first thought, best thought type of deal here. does that jog a thought about anything in your current life? This could be a person, anything in your psyche, something you're going through, a situation, following another thing with intent out of wanting something.
I mean, yeah, a person in my current life, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so it brings up this person. Cool.
Yeah.
So you don't have to get into the details here. I know this gets personal real quick.
Yes, yes.
So okay, so this is just kind of a overview example. So
Right.
you have this person, and so you would then that's a snapshot of how we would do the decoding.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
would do that process for every single key symbol, and then at the end of the process, we have like kind of a new symbol, a representation of the original symbols. So then we go through the dream again and we reread it, but this time we're plugging in our new symbols, our new representations. Okay. So, again, this one's pretty brief, but the chasing being like representative of this person, and then you're asking yourself, okay, well, why is this person chasing me? And just kind of getting down to why are these aspects of myself, right? Because all of these symbols were within my psyche. Why are these components interacting with themselves in the way that they are? And it can be a really fruitful process. I know this was kind of like a
Right.
superficial example of it, which is to say, not that deep. But it's been really helpful for me. I do try to do it as often as I can when I have big dreams, but like I said, it is somewhat of a timely process, and it's much more fun to do with other people. Like I'll do it via journaling, and I can do it, but it's just like it feels like a chore a little bit. It's kind of
Yeah.
work, and I try to find the fun in it,
No,
but it's.
I need to know your astrology immediately. Immediately. What is sun, moon, rising, if you have it off the top of your head?
Do you have a guess? Out of curiosity.
I'm not gonna take a stab.
You're not?
I'm not gonna do it, no. Because I just want to know.
Yeah. Okay. Tiffany, any guess?
Aquarius?
Mm-mm.
No.
So my sun is Sagittarius, rising Virgo, and Scorpio moon.
Right on.
Sad.
Mm-hmm.
What's your moon? Scorpio moon?
Scorpio.
What's your
Scorpio.
rising?
Virgo.
Virgo. Okay. I
Yeah.
love that. Oh yeah, the introvert. I have a hard time with that. I've never seen you introverted in my life. I love it.
That's so. I've heard that from like 3 or 4 people just in the last month. Like, it's. Yeah, I mean, I guess I need to stop identifying with that past version of myself. But when I was a kid, like I was a really shy person, and I mean, I know how to talk to people once it gets going. But I think I have like pre-social anxiety. Like when I'm in the social interaction, like I can vibe, but it's getting myself to even be there that's difficult. Like even if it's even if it's hanging out with my friends that I already know and love, like if
And the way
plans cancel, I kind of enjoy it sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's for sure a vibe. But when you get on stage, the way you take the stage and you just like you have everyone's attention, like I just love it. It's delightful to see.
Well,
Everyone
thank you
just
for
kind
saying
of in
that.
awe of you. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I super appreciate that feedback because even being on stage, even though I've been performing for years and I'm very confident in playing the music, I have never really considered myself a performer or necessarily like entertaining. Like I like to, vibe with friends and be goofy and funny and stuff, but like when it's like in front of an audience, like I would never get on stage and like do stand-up comedy. You know what I mean? Like it's still like a little outside of my comfort zone. It just doesn't come super naturally to me. Which were you mentioned my friend Marielle who came last year, and it's very different for her. Like she's just a natural entertainer, and she has this ability of like connecting with the audience so like gracefully and easily. And so I appreciate that feedback from you. I definitely take encouragement from it. but
Well, you
it's
couldn't recognize what's in her if you didn't have it in yourself, and I see it in you. So I think that's beautiful. Like you totally look like you're in the zone, that it's coming from a place of beauty, and and it is natural to see you on the stage. So yeah, you what she has, you have it too, buddy. Okay.
yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that, and yeah, that's really part of the thing, right? Is just like seeing these different mirrors and figuring out how, like, what again, like what part of ourselves we're seeing in other people, and like
Absolutely.
how we can integrate that, and two, how we can like flush the thought programs that just aren't serving. Like that's just such an old thing for me to even say that I'm like shy and stuff. Like it's like
That's a total sync. Jeff and I just had a conversation yesterday with some friends. It was just like, you can once you identify with something and you internalize it, you make your story. And some like there will be points where that gets uncomfortable to be anymore. And it's okay at any point in time. At any point in time, and with no reason for explanation, you can just change and be whoever the hell you want to be. You are
so
not,
true.
identities and these stories that we've written or people have written about us. That's the thing too, is like,
Right.
even the good stuff, it's just like, I'm not responsible for that, but thank you for your story. That was me, but thank you for your perspective. But I am whoever I want to be at that moment in time.
So true. Yeah, I remember a friend said something a few years ago about how like every interaction we have with other people is in a certain way. Like she used the word propaganda, but like to break it down, like propagating a certain image of us, a certain version of us, and like how to step into that consciously is a dance I've really been like trying to center into how to do it well, because it's like I'm such an authentic person that sometimes like I do enter an interaction with people with like maybe my heart on my sleeves too much, to the point where I'm like now reverting back to a past version of myself where I'm like trying to get validation from venting negativity or something like that. Like there's a place for it, of course. Like we do need to express and we need to vent and we need to have those safe spaces, certain relationships where we're safe to do that. But
Yeah.
like I don't want it to become my personality, or it's just like,
Right.
it's the only thing I talk about is the things not going right in my life or in the world or whatever. But then on the other hand, like I don't want to fake it
Yeah,
either.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's a
But that
balance.
it's a balance. It's a balance. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still not really sure on like maybe that's an immaturity, because I do also feel that we're all actors in this life, and I think conditioning, childhood conditioning is sort of just like the training process of like, oh, that's who I'm supposed to be. But then we grow and we realize just what you said, Tiffany, that like we can reinvent ourselves in any moment, but at the same time, like there's also the gravity of the literal neuron or the neural pathways that like we've practiced being this certain role for such a long time that like I mean we can't just like overnight
Yeah.
create like super significant change. But I don't, well, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
not going to be a black and white overnight type of thing, but we can create a shift. We can
Yep.
shift our like grasping or like the tension around it. Like, we can take an in breath and sort of like allow the shift to happen more organic, more organically, naturally, um,
It
type
can be
stuff.
like, I want to be, I want to have a commune with my friends and da 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 da. Your body's not going to naturally shift into like, today we're moving into the commune, like blah, blah, blah. Like, and we've talked about like saying, what do we want to do with the commune? Well, I want to, have this big, beautiful garden and farm, but do I have that in my current life at all? No. How can I like make small movements towards being that person? Is okay, now I have a windowsill garden, even if it's like tiny little, this something like you're moving towards that person through small steps of feeling what it feels like to be that, because it's not like we could make that shift overnight. It would be overwhelming for our nervous systems and for our bodies
Right.
and for our identities and egos. It's like, if we did that, it'd be like, oh God, what was I thinking? But if we slowly get into that, like it feels more natural and we can accept it and we can allow that. that to come into our awarenesses and our auras. But this whole
That's
entire
such a good point.
is a humongous synchronicity. Like everything we say has been just this huge synchronicity to other conversations. Like talking about the mirrors and how we see other people and seeing us. When we got together for the eclipse last week, about a week ago, with a couple of other aliens, and Indianapolis is where we're at currently, and that was in the path of totality.
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati probably was too, wasn't it?
It was close. That's funny. I wanted to ask you guys about the eclipse. I went up to Worthington, Indiana. Cincinnati was like at like 95% or something like that.
Oh,
So it was
nice.
close.
You got to see it.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, we got together, just like there were 9 of us, and we rented a house just down the street from here, and we ended up going to the park for it. And like when the eclipse hit, it felt like a giant mirror went across the sky for me. Like the big mirror came across the sky, and I have just like nonstop been thinking about mirrors. And even last night I was doing a meditation on I don't know if you ever heard of Emporium Black. They do these like medicinal truffles. We'll have
Okay.
to send you the link. They're incredible. But Jonathan and I took a mushroom. It wasn't a mushroom truffle. What was it? A nightshade truffle. And it's a profound experience. It's like completely. It's beautiful. But I was
Cool.
thinking about this person that might be chasing me in my dreams, and I was seeing this like toxic mirror. This very like mirror that was trying to like mirror back to me this really gross stuff that's not in me anymore, and I just crushed the mirror. Like mirrors have been this whole huge synchronicity for I don't know, a couple of weeks now. But the eclipse being a beautiful mirror was incredible because everybody in our area had taken their day to go to a beautiful place and share a few moments to see this incredible thing in the sky and connect.
Yeah,
And like these are the people that I want to be around. This is the life that I want to live. Like this is the moment I will never forget. It was a profound experience for me.
that's amazing. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it was pretty profound for me too. I didn't get too deep into any of the mythology or lore around it. I'm on TikTok and stuff, and anytime that type of thing would come, I would just swipe. I don't care, just because, like I was saying, like I'm really kind of a non-duality type of guy, and I feel like the only truth that really exists is the one that we attach to, and sort of like the stories that we write in our minds. And so I'm really protective about what stories I allow to enter into my psyche, because not that I can't choose to like believe or not believe certain things, but it's just, once you've heard a story, you can't unhear it. You
I
might forget
call
about
that
it
a
later.
knowledge hazard. Like,
Well,
I call that a knowledge hazard.
oh, okay, yeah.
Like something that as soon as you hear it, like all of a sudden you have the option right there. Okay, is this going to become a truth to me, or is this like just somebody else's myth that I don't need to like adhere to for the rest of my life or something?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, and I think a lot of people are less discerning about that, where we are kind of just more sponge like when it comes to that type of thing. We just absorb whatever we hear, and then that's part of what's so ungrounding about reality right now, is that so many people are getting just inundated with so many conflicting stories. There's so much like contrast in that. But anyway, so I didn't really get into any of that, so I wasn't, it was just a cosmic phenomenon that was happening, that like I was stoked that people were happy to go see, and whatever. And yeah, so we were up at this. It's an intentional community in Worthington, Indiana, called Sage Valley. Really cool community. Actually, it might be cool if you guys connected with.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
I
know
heard
you guys are talking
Sorry.
about like off-grid type stuff, or just community minded living and stuff. So it might be some people to pick some brains and stuff, because they've been operating for like, I want to say 8-9 years or something like that. And anyway, we played a show on Sunday and got there Saturday, and it was just beautiful.
Right on.
That sounds wonderful. We'll definitely have to check that out. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially if you're in Indianapolis, like, yeah, pretty close. So they do a spring gathering and a fall gathering each year, and I just started going to their spring gathering in 2021. Went to the fall one for the first time last year. I'm not going to be able to make the spring one this year, so I was glad that I was able to go down there for the eclipse. So. Yeah, it's just beautiful people doing beautiful stuff. It's really cool that it's become like a sort of second home for me, and
Oh,
link up with certain people that I don't keep up with throughout the year necessarily, but can just check back in and keep vibing like we had just seen each other yesterday type of thing, and
right. That's great.
yeah, so it was really cool. But I will say about the eclipse, it was interesting to witness other people's anxieties sort of bubbling to the
Mhm.
surface, like.
Mhm.
I don't know. It was just kind of wild. And one more thing I'll say about it is the only thing that I did hear that really resonated with me was my buddy led a little yoga session the morning of the eclipse, and he was saying that from like an energy center's standpoint, more of a yogic perspective, that our personal sun energy is like our mental space, and that the moon is more the unconsciousness of the emotions, like our solar, or like our sacral, and the root chakras and stuff like that. And so he was just saying, so think about what that would mean for your unconscious, more emotional centers to eclipse your mind, your consciousness.
Hell
And
yeah.
so I thought that was cool. And when it was in totality, yeah, first off, so surreal. Like what a wild sight.
Incredible.
I
Amazing.
felt like I was in a
Yeah.
dream.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It felt like
yeah,
I just said, like, as soon as it went, because you thought it was full, and then it was full, and then it was completely dark. And at that moment, it truly felt like anything could happen. Anything was possible.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that everything was up in the air, and it was just like this, like, vibration of energy of like it was a wild experience for me once it went full.
Yeah, I
hmm
think my favorite part of the whole event was just the collective gasp of everyone around us when totality happened. And then the cheer
Yeah.
afterwards. And then again the gasp when it starts moving again and it comes back. Like that
yeah.
ray of light where you're like,
Yeah.
ah, you put your hands
Yeah.
up, and like the awe
hmm
Yeah.
of it. Ah, it was
Yeah,
really fun. Yeah. I,
definitely.
I I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't that, and what I got was like totally worth the trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm Definitely. Yeah, I had the same thoughts, same feelings.
There was a news anchor in Indianapolis that was at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which had tons and tons of people. And he was like, it moved emotionally as he was recording. And they were like, what are you feeling right now? And he was like, we report on so much trauma that's happening in the world. And a lot of the times we're recording during the people's worst part of those people's lives. And he was like, but here we're all connected. No one's divided. It's beautiful. We're all together. Like, and he was just moved so emotionally. And he was like, it's very profound for me, like going on and on. And I felt that, like, you feel
hmm
the same connection with everyone around you. Everyone's having their experience. We're all seeing the same thing. Everyone's there for the same thing. It's just like, this is how it could be. This is how it could feel, kind of thing. Not the homogeny of it all, not that, whatever, but just, that experience was wild.
No, totally. I feel that. I mean, I just got chills when you said that. Especially coming from a news anchor that's just like, news media is the whole thing, and just to have someone in that industry acknowledge that it's
Yeah.
usually negativity bias stuff. We're usually just talking about the shit, and there's
Yeah.
so much beauty in the world, so much beauty.
Yeah.
And to actually take some time to represent that and remind each other of that is
Yeah.
so important and moving, you
And like
know?
you guys were talking about earlier, we are how our minds are just taking in so much global information at any point in time. God knows what's true and what's not.
Right.
This is really truly the century of discernment, and deciding what's true for you and your body, and that could be completely
100%.
different than next to you. But like, we're meant to be focused on what's going on around us and who's around us and our environment. We're not supposed to be like taking in everything from everyone all the time. So I'm like consciously trying, especially in this part of my life, to pare down what I'm taking in. And like, I've cut out TikTok at this point,
Hmm.
for now. But like, I turned off the news in 2020. And that made a humongous like change in my reality. Like things that no longer resonated to me just didn't exist in my life anymore. I know they're there. I'm not ignorant to that, but like my immediate life changed, my like reality changed because I chose to stop, playing into certain things.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of that quote that's accredited to Duncan Trussell. Who knows if he actually said it? But if you guys have seen that meme, that's like, some poor fool out there with no phone is sitting by a waterfall with no idea how outraged they should be. Like, it's just so true. Yeah, I mean, I really avoid the actual news channels like the plague, but
Yeah.
yeah, and during totality, like I definitely got that emotional wave too. Like again, thinking back to what my buddy said about like, your emotions eclipsing the mind for a moment. Like I definitely, I didn't like start sobbing or anything, but I did feel an emotional
Yeah,
release.
for
Just
sure.
like gust of wind, just in and out, here and there.
The
Yeah.
morning before, we were all out and just enjoying the sun because it just happened to be the most perfect day that's
Yeah, it was
ever existed.
gorgeous in Indiana.
Sunny and 70 and breezy. It was absolutely perfect. It would have been
Truly.
a day. But that morning we were all out together, sitting outside enjoying the weather and in the sunshine, and to get woo as hell all of a sudden. I was, talking to the tree in the front yard and like offering it offerings and whatever that, that tree love.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I asked about the eclipse, and like immediately this like very, very loud flavor of voice kind of came in. It was just like, in this eclipse, accept or release all any darkness that's being shown in this eclipse, being brought to light. Any of the darkness is being brought to light, accept it or release it. Like, can you change it? No. Then accept it. Can you change it? Yes. Then release it. Then
Mm.
that's exactly how I feel. Like the darkness is being brought through your subconscious, are being brought to light. What are you going to do about it?
Hmm. Yeah. So
What's there
true.
kind of thing.
So
And man,
true.
was that on point for me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Big Tree. We love you.
Yeah, yeah. The earth knows, and it'll speak if we want to listen, if we take the time. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that.
Speaking of talking to trees, I would love to be able to, those like plant sound things that connect to plants and get like the frequencies off the plant to make into some noises. I
Oh
would love
yeah.
to talk to the sacred tree at camp on that big tree stage. Like make it a whole song, get Charles on the beats, get you up there talking to it with your instruments and beauty. Like,
Yes. That would be awesome. Yeah. Yeah, and wasn't that tree kind of not doing so well last year?
yeah, well, yeah. That was a
Yeah.
It was lonely,
big part of the
right?
meditation. Yeah,
Wasn't that what it was saying? Was that it was lonely? I mean, it was the only.
Yeah.
All the other trees were really kind of gone. So
Yeah, yeah. I was wondering too if it had anything to do with the stage being like constructed around it. If it
yeah,
wasn't,
possibly.
yeah, like getting quite as much rainfall or whatnot that it normally would.
So what do you have going on music wise? You said you did a show at the Eclipse a little bit there, but
Mhm.
what else is going on?
I've got a couple small festivals coming up. There's one near us in Ohio, out in the east of Cincinnati, at a buddy's property called Hope Fest, and it's sort of around recovery. I think it's a fundraiser for families that have been affected by substance abuse, stuff like that. And so we're playing a set there. That's May 4th, and then we have a monthly residency at a brewery here in Cincinnati, up in Mount Healthy, called Fibonacci Brewing. And talk about synchronicities. I
Yeah.
grew up in Mount Healthy, and I remember when that place opened, and it was like years before. I mean, it was probably before I was 21, so I wasn't exactly checking out all the bars or anything. But Fibonacci, I knew Fibonacci from like I'm a big Tool fan, and that's what got me turned on to the Fibonacci sequence and stuff like that. And anyway, so I've been playing there for years, and they've got we host a monthly show and open jam. So last year we did more of an open mic. This year we're trying to like we'll probably stay on stage for most of the night and just allow a chance for other musicians out there to come up and jam with us. And yeah,
Aw.
so that's kind of our main frequent show. But yeah, other things coming up. I'm really trying to pivot into focusing on performance more than I ever have. I put out an album that was many years in the making. It finally released as its full form last summer, and that's called Solati. And it's sort of I'll put it this way. I grew up listening to a lot of classic rock and progressive rock, type of music where listening to a full album was the main move. It's like you tap in and listen to like a full CD or like, an album or something and go on this journey. The opening track is a certain vibe and you go through this whole journey and the closing track's a certain vibe. And it's like, not just like a collection of singles or something like that. So I really enjoy creating in that format. Like anytime I start a song, it's kind of like, okay, how does this fit into an album context, or even if it's a short album through an EP, like 4 songs or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's always been my flow of, being a more like recording artist where I've got studio spaces, and that's what I studied in college, for better or worse, is audio production. So I'm big into the ear candy of layering up productions and that sort of thing. And it's fun for me, but it also feels a little old world. Like it kind of feels like I'm playing out this dream that I had as a kid where the musicians that I was exposed to were, not local musicians who were just like performing. They, were putting together these high budget records. And that was just the exposure I had, and that's what I fell in love with. So, getting older, that was just kind of the path that I sort of projected myself onto, just being able to create records in my free time. And again, that's like its own therapy to be able to express in that way. That's my version of painting. I'm layering up all this stuff. But then it's an entirely different thing to choose to share that, right? Like I could paint for my own enjoyment, but to like try to share that with the world is like begging the question of why. Like, what are my intentions and what do I hope to affect and what do I hope to get back from that interaction? And that's a whole conversation. But just some questions that I'm sort of pondering, and the part that I want to speak on is that I'm feeling that more than ever, people need people, and live music brings people together. So now I'm, just kind of getting out of my comfort zone of like, I can play all day by myself in the studio and layer things up, but to be able to like really manage a band and lead a band that we're able to take that and bring it to the stage in a way that's just as powerful, if not more, so that kind of goes back to like the idea of like that I was expressing earlier, that I don't feel super confident as a front person. It's like, well, I kind of either need to bring in another person into the band that's going to play that role, or figure out how to hack it myself, because that bridge between, okay, we may be performing our hearts out on stage, but if it's not done in a way that's like that there's a real obvious and enticing invitation to the audience, where like it's not just music in the background, like they want to be tuning in, they may even want to dance, whatever it may be. Like I want to be able to figure out how to like really fully engage in art as an inspiration, as a devotion for myself, spiritual practice, that the way that it's rippling out is like actually inspiring for people. Like, oh yeah, I vibe with that. Like I want to, whatever inspires you to do, to get up and dance, or to like sing along, or like to start doing your own thing, whatever it may be. Like ultimately, like a lot of, just like with the Reminders podcast, like a lot of my lyrical content is really supposed to act as a mirror, like let it bring you back to your own center. And I'm really like conscious or conscientious, I mean to say, about the lyrics not being just me venting in a song, or just, fuck the government or whatever, like,
But also,
which we need, but like coming back to the Just Read isms, it's like there's the Arsenal energy.
yeah,
I feel like I'm like the image setting imagery, where it's like I want to write songs that can be mantras that people can sing along and actually be like charging themselves with positive programming rather than the negative.
Yeah.
This is great. This is a sync for me because I've been thinking a lot lately about how I think that musicians are secret wizards. And I think music is like my favorite form of alchemy. You know, it's turning, you know, your experiences and skills and energy into vibrations with the intent of passing that along and, you know, sharing, you know, emotion and energy, and thereby allowing them to take those vibrations and that energy and, you know, alchemize that within themselves into something else, and like going into it with an intent of wanting to give them that energy and those feelings to, you know, go forth and create something of their own. I think that's really great. I think that's beautiful, man. I really love that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Thank you for that reflection. Yeah, because it's just, you know, it's just like what are we doing? You know, I'm just like, this is what I do naturally. You know, just like a bird flies and sings. You know, I sing and make music. It's just what I do naturally. But again, if I'm gonna share it, like I do want it to be intentional, because otherwise it's kind of self-serving. It can feel self-indulgent in a way, you know. And but yeah, so trying to bring that intentionality into it, and not put so much pressure on it too, to be like, oh well, if I did this thing, it has to reach 1 million people or something like that.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you know,
If you take away the expectation, you know, it frees it up to be something new other than, you know, the work or whatever that it was. You know,
right.
it can often be such a draining task anyway. So
One of the things that Jess talks about in her podcast is like, I said the intention this reaches whoever needs to see it. You don't have to like follow the series of whatever. If it finds you, it finds you. And I love, that's what we did with camp when we started playing in camp the first year. It was just a couple of us. I know everyone's heard the story 1,000 fucking times. It's like we set the intentions, like this thing will find whoever is supposed to be there, and it was
Voila.
me that Sean was supposed to freaking be there.
Yeah. So true. Yeah. I love that. And that's really the part that I want to ground into more in this next chapter of my life is, you know, for instance, I'll just get a little personal here. In 2019, my partner at the time, we essentially manifested this house that I'm in right now, and we're about to sell it. So we're in the process of, well, we're in a separation essentially, and so we're in the process of kind of like detaching in that way. And like it's all out of love, like we're still cool and everything like that. It's nothing too crazy, nothing scandalous, but just, you know, kind of growing apart in a sense. And part of that is like me purging a lot of the stuff in this house and all this stuff. But anyway, what was specific about like manifesting this place is that I wanted to find a home that had studio potential. And this house not only had potential, but it already had 2 studio rooms in it and a third one that had a vocal booth, like an isolation booth. So the previous owner was also a studio guy and yada, yada, yada. And just like, wow, we really made that happen, you know? And
yeah.
and I don't usually even use the term manifestation. I really like to think about it as like magnetism. And, you know, I'm a big proponent for the Neville Goddard thing that Noah Lampert turned myself and I think hundreds of other people onto.
Yeah.
Of, if not more, of the idea of like really feeling it in your heart and like let your vibe be what magnetizes your experience and stuff like that. So I feel like I've proven to myself that works, that's real. But I think I've really distracted myself over the years of like practicing that, like for other things too, you know, like even the music, like just feeling, you know, I'm sharing this music, whether it be a studio release or getting on stage, like I'm choosing to share this. But I think sometimes I come at it with like a sort of anxious, a little tight energy. You know, where maybe there is some expectation or like, or just, you know, countless experiences of it maybe not being satisfying, you know, times that I performed and it didn't feel like I connected with anyone or something like that. But just like, yeah, like we were talking about before, like flush that, that's the past, you know, like really showing up with the vibe of like, I'm just appreciative to be in an opportunity to share, you know, and just like I said before, allowing it to be a devotional spiritual practice, I think would be really powerful. And so yeah, that's what I'm trying to really ground into. It's like treat it as a way of honoring the divine, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We talked
So,
about, I think everyone's kind of starting to shift their idea of manifestation altogether. I've noticed like a big kind of push to see it differently. And Jonathan and I think maybe Jeff too, we talked about how manifestation feels kind of one-sided. It's just like, I want this and you're going to,
mm,
kind of thing. And by honoring the divine in yourself, the divine that's all around us, the divine that connects us, it's like, if you are able to the talking about like, I'm manifesting this and you're going to give it to me, and the universe is sometimes like, okay, I'll give it to you, but I need to take this, I'm taking this kind of thing. It does need to be, it is kind of transactional, but in an honor, like you honor yourself, you honor the divine, you honor it all together, and then you like make movements towards the things that you want. You make, you make offerings in that way, like truly honoring it and seeing it as, I'm giving this, like, let's make this a beautiful flow. And when you get in the flow, it's like magic becomes all around you. You see it all around you. And we started practicing this in the Hot Alien Discord with a group of people, that we would just start like manifesting small things, and like making it like a fun little game. Like, this is small, like just kind of build your confidence up. And the gratitude of that, I feel like, is the offering to, thank
mm-hmm.
you for bringing this to me, this is so fun, this made me so joyful, it made me
Yeah,
so
yeah,
happy.
yeah.
I'm sharing this with my friends, which is making them happy, and they're doing the same thing, and we're all kind of, we start this flow of joy. And then the more you can stay in that mindset of, it's already coming to me, it's already here, we already got it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling this beautiful energy, like it's everywhere, and it becomes overwhelming because you're just like, this, my life is beautiful, everything is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's, but it's that we lose it when it's like, well, where's the thing that I've been asking for?
Right,
Like
right.
Right.
you get in that like desperate pushing, pulling,
Yeah. Especially when you have
anticipation.
you're like focused on specifically the way you want that thing.
Yeah.
You
Right.
getting that thing in so many other ways,
Yes.
but you're so narrow-mindedly
Yes.
focused on that one specific way that you don't even see it.
Yeah. And like
Right.
on most of the things in your life, I'm not gonna say all, you were like, oh, I did get the thing that I asked for,
Mhm.
but it was nothing like what I thought it was going to be. But guess what? It was way better.
Yeah.
Or
True.
and it was horrendous, and you didn't realize that could be the way that turned out. I mean, you're like, I did get
Right.
it, but it was an awful experience, and that was clearly not lined up for my highest good kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, so true. Yeah, you're making me think about like how manifestation is almost more on that like sky daddy sort of
Yeah.
paradigm where it's like we're
Mhm.
just trying to get things, whereas like, you know, like I said, I like to call it magnetism, or like, you know, the Neville Goddard way of like imagination, you know, is more about alignment
Yeah.
more than there's almost a scarcity mindset in manifestation that we don't have something, so we're trying to attain it, versus like, let me find where in my heart I already have
Yeah.
those things. And to me, it always comes back to gratitude. You know,
Mhm.
like the whole Neville Goddard thing is like, imagine like you already have the thing that you want, and the feeling that would go along with it. So to me, I like to just say it as like, it's imagination with an E instead of an I. Like it's an
Yeah.
emotional imagination. At least for me, like I maybe I just don't have a super active third eye visual manifestation or visual imagination. Maybe other people relate more to that. But for me, it's very emotional. It's just, let me feel in my heart center the gratitude. And so that's all it comes down to. It's just gratitude, you know? If I just practice gratitude every day, I don't even have to necessarily think to myself, what are the things I want to be grateful for? It's just,
It's around
surprise
you.
me, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
he said surprise.
yeah, yeah.
I love
So,
that. That's my new imagination, emotional imagination. I love
yeah.
it.
Yeah. Love that too.
Like all of these little meetups that we do with all these people that we love, it every time we go walk away from them, I'm just like, my cup is full, my heart is full, I feel renewed and hopeful after, what has been a kind of tough ass winter.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
when we leave these, it's like this is what I want. This is the feeling that I want to have. And then it just starts showing up more and more, and the goal would be all of us doing this every day together kind of situation. And
Mm-hmm.
it feels more real every time we get together. And it's like, I know it's coming. I can feel it. I know that
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah. What that's making me think about is like how I think we're entering a chapter where like let me put it this way. I think so many of us have been like really in the darkness of isolation. It's just kind of like the way, it's a corollary of capitalism, right? Like we're
Yeah.
very individualist and we each have our own separate bedrooms and our own separate houses and all this stuff. And so I think a lot of people are like really craving community. And the way that's been like showing up for a lot of people throughout however long is like we go on vacation from our life, we go to the music festival, and then we feel all this connection, all these, this beautiful, like high peak moments of connection. And I think the next chapter is like, okay, so imagine that we're with our homies and our besties every day. Like, it's not going to be a party every day. We also have to learn how to, like, the conflict resolution and learn how to, like, enjoy mundane moments with people too, and, like, do the work to create a more sustainable structure. Like, it's not going to be that high energy all the time. So I don't know, it's just something that just came to my head because it sort of feels like an isolated incident sometimes when we go to these gatherings, and then we go back to lot life is what the hippies call it. It's like you go back to your lot in life, and you're just back to being depressed. The ego comes back online, and everything else and whatever, still gotta pay the rent and all this stuff. So it's like, how do we enter that?
So this was a huge shift for me. After our Clips meetup, we were integrating that experience with our friend EJ, and we were like, yeah, now I have to go back to reality. And he goes, no, that was reality. This is what reality. Like if you consider like that feeling as reality, that it shifted something so big in me when he said that. That is reality. This is something else.
Wow.
That's how it is meant to be, and I was just like so touched by that.
I love that. Yeah, that reminds me of like the idea of like lucidity again, is that we're kind of like in this dream of the capitalist matrix to the point that we think that this is base reality. But it's like, actually,
Yeah.
there's something a lot more free and a lot more fluid and a lot more lucid that's sort of just like, this is a small, tiny subsect of, this is the game we entered. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
anyway.
When you go back to your lot in life, you're going to work and you're doing it. Like you get caught in the dream. Like you're not living. You're living in the autopilot mode.
Trance. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, it helps to just come back to to have references. Now we have a point of reference.
Yeah.
Now we're not lost to the trance, the dream, the matrix, the video game. It's like, so now we can operate like, yeah, we like you said before, we can't make these shifts like total paradigm shifts, total timeline shifts, because that would wreck our nervous system. So it's like, okay, now let's make these small steps and just get real with ourselves. Like that's really what I keep coming back to these days, is like self-honesty, which I keep preaching it. And like, obviously I have a lot of progress to make on like actually, really embodying my own self-honesty. But, it's just like, I think we know deep down, we know. And a lot of times we're even hearing the thoughts like, I know I shouldn't be doing this thing, but whatever type of thing. So just getting really honest with ourselves to the point where we're being really honest with other people. And then we can like actually support each other, because that's the other thing, is I may have clarity on my patterns, but like the human body, it just like needs support. Like we need those mirrors and reflections to like feel energized. I'll speak for myself, but that's how it is for me.
Absolutely.
So yeah, beautiful stuff.
Yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. Where can people find you? Tell us what you've got going on.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Thanks again so much for including me in the conversation, by the way. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Seanti Aeris. That's SEANTI.AERIS, and that's the moniker that I use for all of my studio recordings. Have been released under that name so far. I'm kind of building up this new band right now, and we're using the name Daydreamer as a sort of placeholder. But I have a
That's
feeling we're
perfect.
probably gonna,
That's so
maybe evolve
perfect.
into something else. But yeah, and I'm on YouTube and uh, podcast places under reminders for Living Lucid podcast.
You do guided meditations, don't you?
I do. It's been a while. So my YouTube channel has some guided meditations, and then my music, and then the podcast. But the meditations have been kind of taking a back seat. I'm sort of trying to make the podcast like more all encompassing, even in terms of like what I was saying about sharing recorded music. Like maybe even just using those more for the podcast, and like having that be more of the main focus of how I'm doing my outreach or visibility. Like I'll give a quick, just funny thing that the other day I was talking to a couple people, and one of which I was asking if she wanted to do a podcast soon. And then we got into this really beautiful conversation, and my other friend was like, "Oh man, we should have had the mics up and stuff." And I was like, "Man, that's happened so many times. Just
So
like
many times.
I can't even fret it. It's just like the podcast is a glimpse into my life. Like I
Yeah.
am the podcast.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
conversations are beautiful. Like this is just a little bit of a glimpse into. Like, of course, every conversation. I'm not saying every experience I have is beautiful and worth sharing, but like it's just it's a window into the way I like to converse with people, and that's what I say to every guest. It's like it's nothing serious. We don't have to have a particular topic to talk about. Like it's just literally an excuse to have a intentional time to sit down, like drink some tea or coffee or whatever, and just vibe out with the person. And if it ends up being like super personal or just doesn't vibe, which has literally never happened, it doesn't have to be released. It doesn't have to be shared.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Well, I'm
yeah.
such a fangirl of you especially, but so many people in our crew, and I'm so grateful that you came on so that we could have a place for you to shine, because we just adore you. But who's somebody in our community or outside our community that you would like to see on Interviewing Aliens?
Well, the first person that comes to mind is my friend Marielle.
I was going
you
to
guys
say
would,
afterward
yeah.
that I'd love to get their contact.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I would definitely link you up. She as much as I got on a conversational role today, she's me times 10. She can just talk for days, and she's got a lot of beautiful ideas and dreams, and I know she would love to talk to you guys. So
we will make that happen.
Cool. Sweet.
Right.
Well, thank you guys so much. Super appreciate it. It was good chatting with you.
All right, bye.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for listening. Bye-bye.
Yeah. All right, love you guys. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Ever felt like you're wandering through a world that doesn't quite fit? Like you're a square peg being nudged into a round hole? Maybe you've caught yourself gazing up at the stars, pondering the mysteries that seem to slip through the fingers of conventional wisdom. Do esoteric beliefs resonate with you more than everyday chatter? Is there a voice inside you whispering that there's infinitely more to this universe than what meets our 3D eyes? If any of this sounds familiar, if any of these questions stir something deep within you, then you might just be the alien we're looking for. This isn't about being from another planet. It's about feeling like you're out of place in this one. It's about believing in the extraordinary, the spaces between. So tell us, do you feel that call, that pull towards something, somewhere that defies the ordinary? If so, welcome. Your mothership, Hot Alien Summer Camp, is calling you home. Are you ready to answer that call? To step into a space where your unique beliefs aren't just accepted but celebrated? Imagine a place where the extraordinary is the norm and the mysteries of the cosmos are the evening's main topic of discussion. A retreat where every workshop, every activity, and every shared meal is an opportunity to explore what lies beyond our conventional 3D experience. Did you find yourself nodding along just then? Feeling that spark of excitement at the thought of connecting with others who share your curiosity for the unknown? Then it's no coincidence you're hearing this right now. This is your invitation to join us, to become a part of a community that doesn't just ask the big questions, but revels in them. And what's a gathering of aliens without a little interstellar entertainment? Prepare to laugh with beings who understand your humor, as we bring you live comedy from cosmic minds of Ryan Singer and paranormal Karen Rontowski. Their insights and wit are as boundless as the universe, promising an experience that's as enlightening as it is hilarious. So, if you're ready to leave behind the world of round holes for a place where every square peg finds its place, a Hot Alien Summer Camp awaits. From August 8th through 11th in Lebanon, Tennessee, we're not just creating a retreat. We're forming a constellation of like-minded souls, each shining their unique light. Are you one of us? Are you ready to explore the depths of your alien soul among friends who understand that it's time to beat 'em up to Hot Alien Summer Camp? Your space in the cosmos is reserved. All you need to do is claim it. Visit HotAlienSummerCamp.com. Pre-sale tickets are on sale now. Let's embark on this cosmic journey together.